Welcome to Seymour from the Front Pew podcast, coming to you from the broadcast studio at Seymour First Baptist Church in Seymour, Tennessee, and featuring thoughts and discussions around loving God, loving others, making disciples, and living the life. I am your host, Tiger Brooks, and now on to the podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Seymour from the Front Pew. As the mysterious voice just told you, I am Tiger Brooks, your host for this event today. And
Listen.
We hope you indeed will do that. Just listen. Today, as much joy as we normally bring to the table, this is going to be a topic that we can't really help to bring a whole lot of joy, because it's a topic that's on the hearts and minds of really everyone right now, because of the nature of the hurricanes that have come through Helene and now Milton. And we're going to talk about disaster relief. We're going to talk about our churches and the many churches that we partner with through the Tennessee Baptist Convention, through the Southern Baptist Convention, how we approach disaster relief, and maybe enlighten folks as to, the ways that we move funds and resources through and those kinds of things, because I can't think of any better time to bring it up than right now, because of the unbelievable devastation that we have seen in East Tennessee and Western North Carolina. And now I haven't even looked today to see what Florida, the destruction that Milton has wrought in Florida and beyond. I can only imagine, with the continued rainfall and the storm surge and all that kind of stuff, that we haven't seen the end of that. Yeah. But anyway, so we're not here to kind of vet the histories of disaster relief in our state, but we have very active disaster relief at the state and even at the associational level throughout the state. And if you want to launch it.
So, again, we do. And I can't remember where I've said what, so I'll just re-say it here. Disaster relief from a SBC level is very organized. There are directors of each state convention that are over disaster relief, and they are often in coordination. And then there's almost like a yearly calendar of, if a national disaster hits in the month of February, this state is the first one to respond. And so, but then there's also understood rules, probably written rules, knowing disaster relief, that if a disaster happens in your state, even if you were the one on call, you respond to it first, or if you were on call for somewhere else. Let's say, like this last event, if Tennessee had been on call to respond to Florida, but yet we got hit also, then we would stay and we would take care of our home state first. And so all that to say is disaster relief is very involved in what is going on in Newport, Dandridge, Cott County, Johnson City, Greenville, Unicoi. As of Monday, still areas where we could barely get to. Mountain City, from what I understand, people were having to go around into North Carolina to get to Mountain City. And so that is going on. And yes, Tennessee is responding to that. But we also know that there are Texans have already sent their response, and they've already taken over a county and a area up in that northeastern part of the state, where they are already coordinating and setting up their command centers, and they're already responding and doing all those things. And so we are a benefit of Southern Baptist Disaster Relief as well as Tennessee Baptist Disaster Relief, and that all those are actively working right now.
Yeah. And so, the bottom line is, it's, even though it's been a week or more since things began, we haven't gotten anywhere close to reaching the bottom of understanding the full scope of what is needing to be dealt with.
Yeah, and Gary and Vicki Thomas are helping to coordinate that from our church end, And Gary and I sat down and talked on Monday. I think it was Monday. Mm-hmm. And I have said, and I said from the pulpit Sunday, and we'll continue to say, we're in this for a longer view, a longer run involvement. And so Gary came and said, what did you mean by that? Because, he and I he had been running and doing, and we hadn't really had a long discussion on that. And I really don't know what that means on that yet. I know that this response is going to take years at this point. We are not going to have families back in their homes and things redone and rebuilt for years. And I don't know if that means we're going to be involved for years or what, but I know that if I align what I'm hearing from the hearts of our church members, it is to be involved with what is going on in our state for the foreseeable future right now. And so what I'm hoping is that we're able to continue to put the needs of people in front of our people, and so that we can be involved in meeting those needs. And I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know how long that will take. Right now, we are, I would say we are at least a community collection center to where people can bring stuff. We are putting out lists regularly with what is needed, and we are seeing those things move and go. This morning, as we're talking, there are 2 trucks on the road that are going to different areas, that are trucks and trailers loaded full of stuff that are going to places in Tennessee to get delivered to areas that need help. And what I'd say with that also is we're going to continue collecting for a long period of time. When we don't feel like we need to any longer, we will say we're not doing this any longer. As best we can, we're going to get that to the needs inside of our state. But there may be things that get passed along to other states because, again, the needs in Florida are great right now. The needs in North Carolina are great right now. And so there are times where we get overrun with something and someone else needs it. And so we'll trust those that are in place to navigate that and to get those into those areas that are needed.
Yeah.
So,
I want to address something too before it slips my mind. We're in an election year, and the politicalization of this.
There you go. Look at you with a big word.
I've never heard him stumble on a word.
Thank you.
What if I stumble?
The
What if I
politicalization of this has grown, and it's continuing to grow. There's casting aspersions toward FEMA. There's questioning of some motives and aid trying to get to places that has been stopped by the government and story. We don't. It's difficult to navigate the truth from the lie and the half truth. But all of that is to say, when we are a church that is helping another church, nothing can stand in the way of that.
that's right. And helping individuals.
Right.
Baptist disaster relief. When we talk about disaster relief, it is all about caring for people who have been hurt or gone through devastation with these disasters. We don't care about any of the politics. Yeah. And the great thing about it is that Southern Baptist Disaster Relief is one of the 3 largest disaster responses in our country. Mm-hmm. I believe it is FEMA and the emergency responses, American Red Cross, which actually we do a lot of their stuff, and then Southern Baptist
SBC,
DR. Yeah. And so and I say we because we are Baptist and we are supporting Baptist. We are well respected in the disaster relief world. And when these things go on, we are expected to be there, invited to be there, and are known to have good responses. And that doesn't have to do with any politics. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's president. Doesn't matter what they are doing. We go in and we do our thing, and we've done it long enough that most people don't bother us. Let us go. Now, there is a process to that.
Right.
You can't just decide, on Monday morning that you want to go be a disaster relief volunteer and go volunteer. There are some places where we can send you and you can do it that way. But Southern Baptist Disaster Relief doesn't function exactly that way. And so we'll have some information in a few minutes that'll help you with that or whatever else. So, yeah.
So before we move on, I just want to say we're going to have Shelby's going to drop the link to places that you can give directly to support disaster relief monetarily. We'll put that in the metadata of this particular podcast. Wherever you're seeing that, you can see that in the stuff below. So you can link there and trust that those funds are going to get to where they need to go, and that doesn't go to any kind of really administrative costs. All those go directly to aid.
So when you give through Tennessee Baptist Disaster Relief, which is a link that Shelby will share, 100% of that is going to help with the disaster. And I would say that 98% of the people that are involved in that are volunteers. There is a small staff, but all of those people are yearly regular employees that are paid for out of the regular budgets and all those other things. And so, so you don't have to worry about, 30% going to administrative fees when there are organizations out there that's what's happening. So,
so let's go ahead and kind of open the can on the disaster relief training. That there's a training coming up, matter of fact, and there was for those of you that don't know, there's a Baptist and Reflector, which is the Tennessee State Baptist paper. In the wake of Helene, there was a disaster relief training in eastern Tennessee, a little bit further east than us. As an East Tennessean, take high offense in people thinking that East Tennessee stops at Knoxville. It does not. There were over 400. There were over 400 participants in this DR training, which I guess you can understand with the heightened awareness of that. But there's another one coming up in our area. And Austin, you got stuff in front of you. Would you like to talk about that?
I would just say first, you do not have to register for this. Corey kind of hit on that a second ago too. You do not have to register to be a part of disaster relief training or to be a part of one of the mission trips, if you will, or projects later on. They will open it up eventually to just people just to come and volunteer.
Yeah, and that's a good call, because we may end up, as a church, partnering with a family to help on their rebuild. And if we do that, then you don't have to have all of this training.
Right.
We will be coordinating that as a church. Yes, sorry.
No, but that's a good. Just a kind of a heads up if you're saying, hey, I want to get involved and I want to do something, you do not have to do this to be able to, in the next 3 to 5 years, do something in East Tennessee, East Tennessee, or Western North Carolina as a part of the relief efforts. You can probably latch on to a team. You'll hear more about that as we progress through these months and go. But if you want to become DR certified, there is a training. And what that means is that both you can go now and get involved a lot sooner in what's going on, as well as when the next one comes. You're certified with DR, as Corey said, like they're one of the first on the scene. A lot of times they are the first on the scene before those other major organizations. You know, it's a great ministry opportunity if you have the heart for it and the ability to just up when a disaster happens to respond immediately and be that frontline team. Then this is kind of the first step to get you there. And so that and you've heard us talk about it. We've actually had 2 different courses like this we've offered in the last 2 years or advertised in our church. But the next one is coming up on Saturday, November the 9th. That's a Saturday, right? That's not a Saturday. I think it's a Thursday. Anyway, it's November the 9th, whatever day of the week that might be. No, it's a Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah, Saturday, November the 9th at Grace Baptist in Knoxville. You can check out on tnbaptist.org and get more information on
Shelby will have the link. I just forwarded it to her so she can put it up with the podcast.
You do have to pre-register by November 4th. That's Monday, November 4th. And it's $40. It gets you all the stuff you need to get credentialed, as well as your fancy yellow hat. And you'll sit through an introductory class that everybody has to sit through, and then you can choose specialized classes that you'll take based on where you think you might want to serve. So you've got stuff like chainsaw operation, the food stuff, the shower trailers, the laundry trailers, those kinds of things, so that you can kind of specialize in one area and know how to properly respond to these disasters.
And you can take multiples of those.
Right.
So you could get certified in, let's say, shower and laundry and mass feeding if you wanted to or whatever. But you have to have the introduction class and one other class to be able to be on site and to be fully credentialed.
Right.
And you can get all of that, though, that day. You can get at least those 2 classes and maybe more if you want it that day. And so that is a process that we would love for you to be a part of.
Right. And I think pushing, especially those of you who may be listening who are saying, I've got time now. I'm ready to jump in now. This is a great first step and can get you into those relief roles sooner, as well as if you, like I said earlier, if you've got a heart for that going down the road, to be ready for the next thing that comes.
Yeah. I mean, it really is, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it really is, for this kind of thing, it would be the retired couple that's not really ready to be retired, but you've got time. The small business owner that can set their own schedule, that can leave at a moment's notice, those kinds of things. If you're in a stage of life or season of life that may appeal to you, or that it's something that is open to you, then this would definitely be something to.
And I would say, y'all can probably all speak to it. We've all been at multiple churches. At several of the churches I have served at, it is a small group of people in churches who find this to be their home of ministry.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the times, the people who find DR to be their avenue of ministry, it becomes huge for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're kind of inclined that way, you might want to test it out and you might find that this is really where the Lord has a huge mission field, because it takes a certain kind of person to do that work. And if you are gifted in that way, there's never going to be a shordage of disasters.
Yeah.
To be able to respond.
It's sort of told to us in the Bible.
Right.
It's going to increase.
You're going to be frontline for the gospel in that. So,
and I mean, again, and all of these things, like that day, they're doing chainsaw operation, flood recovery, mass feeding, rebuild, shower, laundry. All of those have already taken place in this Tennessee recovery already, or Tennessee response already. I mean, within days, maybe hours, there was a center set up. There was a place for people to come get a shower. When there's no water anywhere else, there's a place to come get a shower.
Yep.
There's a place to come do laundry. There's a place to get a hot meal. And the yard does that. And there's no cost involved to anybody as far as like anybody that needs any of those services. There's no cost. There's distribution centers set up where they can come get whatever. You see all the things that are on our lists. There's that stuff and more. For people to come get and to be able to take and to use and to do all those types of things. And so it is definitely a needed ministry inside the life of our churches and inside the life of our convention. And if that is something that you're interested in, we would support you in that and try to resource you as best as we can. If you have questions on that, you can ask us. But Gary and Vicki are probably the best ones to direct those to. Gary and Vicki Thomas, they are trained in different areas, and I think the 2 of them are actually trained in different areas also. And so I know we've got a handful of others that are trained in feeding and different things like that, where they are going separately. And so so there are some people that we can put you in contact with that will help you as far as answering questions and helping you figure out what that looks like.
Yeah. I'm going to let Jason kind of speak and say something here in a minute as well. Your dad's been very involved over in Western North Carolina too, and you kind of share a story or two there. But I just kind of want to throw something out there that, in conversations with folks, I was talking last night with someone who had lived in Houston post Katrina, and I think that it's not conjecture or hyperbole to be thinking in terms of how drastic Katrina affected Southeast Louisiana, the diaspora, the people that left there going toward Houston and other places. It changed Houston forever. You can laugh at me if you want to.
I'm looking up the word right now.
The politicalization.
It's okay. It changed it changed the cities forever. Moving forward, there were so many people that moved from Louisiana to the Houston area, and it changed the dynamics of Houston. And we were talking about that. This is a scale on the Katrina scale. I mean, it's not talked about in the same light because it's not as metropolitan as New Orleans and things. And there's, and again, more political stuff going on there, but there are places that people will not be able to return.
Yeah.
There are places that people are going to have to move away from and settle in other communities because their houses have been utterly destroyed and literally the dirt washed away that they can't even build on it anymore. And so I think that is not only something to think about and pray about as a continual thing to be aware of, and ministry opportunities for us as a church and many other churches in East Tennessee to be able to respond to. But it's something that I think, again, just ongoing, we're going to have to adjust, and there will be people that come into new communities that are going to be seeking a place to live in a new home, so to speak, because of this.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we can wrap our minds around that quite yet, but that's the reality of where we are. And so, Jason, talk about some of the things that your dad has been able to see from the North Carolina perspective of all of this.
Yeah. So, I don't know how much needs to be kind of put out there to some degree.
It's a family show.
My dad is not right now. He is not involved in. For him, it would be North Carolina Baptist DR. And I think that's one thing. Let me speak to that just for a second. I think that's been the interesting thing for me is where you guys have your roots and ties are Tennessee. My roots and ties have been North Carolina and are now becoming Tennessee, as being here for 8 years. But because of that, being here, I have so many people from here that are asking about Asheville and the North Carolina side of things, because many people know I have a cousin and his family that live in Asheville, 3 minutes from Biltmore Village, and his community, his neighborhood. I mean, everything that he knows has been greatly affected in a tremendous way, and so him and I have kind of continued to be in contact and with that, and so I'm aware of a lot of what's going on in Asheville because of him and his presence there, and so folks in Tennessee are asking, what does that look like for us? Do you think that we're going there? And I'm like, but then at the same time, we've got folks in North Carolina that are messaging me, friends, and saying, what's going on in Tennessee? Do you think that, are you needing help in Tennessee? And I'm able to basically say to both sides, there is Tennessee Baptist in Tennessee. There is North Carolina Baptist in North Carolina. And I think that's the beauty of our DR response teams, of being able to say that we are coming at this in both directions. So both sides are responding to this in an appropriate way that allows for both sides to be getting the need and the help. And I mean, Corey even said, there's a chance the way this may work out, and who knows, it could be different than what we think. There's a chance that the Tennessee side of disaster relief wraps up quicker than the Asheville side. And at that time, it may be that Tennessee moves in and continues to start helping in that side, or vice versa, depending on whatever that looks like. But so that has been a cool side of that, to be able to kind of speak into both sides of kind of the communication of folks that are asking and wanting to know kind of what's going on. And my dad is involved over there, but not with the North Carolina Baptist. My dad's a part of a lodge, kind of a retired police officers lodge that they immediately responded for the purpose of going to serve the first responders, the rescue teams, all of those law enforcement and everyone who immediately were there and on the scenes to begin the process of unfortunately searching for the missing and recovering, hopefully, those who are alive, and many times those who have deceased. And so because of that, Dad has been present in the midst of all of that. And he has shared some very difficult stories that he is seeing on that side of things, things that I don't think need to be shared publicly and need to be put out there, but know that what I would say is that know that the reality on the ground is worse than I think anyone is hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true from North Carolina. I think that's true from Tennessee. And just incredible heartache and pain that is taking place. And I would say, I was involved in disaster relief for Katrina. And one of the things that I remember seeing and thinking as that was taking place, we were involved in that a year, even 2 years out of things that were taking place. And, I'm not saying this is always the case with most disaster relief, especially from a government side of things, because I'm certainly not going to be political in the approach to all this. But oftentimes, even from folks, the response immediately is heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to get involved and we want to be present. And I don't knock that for 1 second. I think that is desperately needed. But one of the things that to me has always been beautiful about Southern Baptist Disaster Relief is we are there until the work is done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the beauty that whenever other people and other organizations are pulling out, the people of God are present.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who we are. That's who we're supposed to be. And so while, yes, we make these responses and we do these responses quickly and immediately, and we want to provide the immediate need, but oftentimes, if we're not careful, there's going to be a period of time where people are going to start to begin to think that they've been forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the hard part is I think there's some areas, even in Asheville and East Tennessee, that there's fear of that already with
or that they've
Milton
not
coming
even been
through.
seen yet,
Not even been
unfortunately.
seen.
Haven't gotten to them yet.
Well,
Yeah.
and I build off of that oftentimes the heart of people is the most recent disaster. And
Now
Milton's already happened. And it's not that those people don't need response, but we haven't even been able to assess what the needs are in many of these places, and we can't just up and move to the most recent. And with that is the ability and the vastness of Southern Baptist Disaster Relief. We can respond to all of these.
Yes.
We can respond to all of these. And
Well, I think that goes back
it's
to
a beauty.
even your stewardship campaign to some degree, and talking
Right.
about the looking at the perspective of the people of God being able to use their gifts and their talents and abilities, and that is the beauty of this, is that when there's a disaster in Tennessee and North Carolina and Florida and all these areas, that is how this has been organized to work and to function in such a way that we can still meet the needs of all of the people. And I think that is the beauty, that as the people of God work in the way that God has desired for us to work, there's enough of us to work and to do it. And we need to be willing and present to go. But I think we also need that. Every time that you've made the comment, Corey, of we're in this for the long haul, for me, that means that we're not just immediate response,
Right.
even though we are, and we are providing that, but we are looking at this as a perspective of we are going to be present as long as anyone has a need.
Mm-hmm.
And until that is gone, we're going to do what we've been called to do.
Yeah.
With all that too, again, we've talked about, just in a couple of weeks, a large area, and we didn't talk about, parts of Virginia, West Virginia, others that were all affected by this also. There is another organization that I want you to know at least know the name of, which is Send Relief. Send Relief is a Southern Baptist organization. It is a part of who we are that functions through the North American Mission Board and the IMB in partnership together. So the International Mission Board and the North American Mission Board partner together on a national level to be a part of Send Relief. And so that is kind of like the national response arm of disaster relief. And so you may see someone wearing a Send Relief shirt or hear something about giving to Send Relief. And I just want to connect the dots on those are in partnership with Southern Baptist and State Baptist Disaster Relief. And so they are not they are not necessarily in competition with one another. And so just wanted to, again, try to connect the dots so that people know. As Baptists, we are really good with having lots of names for lots of different things, and you wonder if they all connect or whatever else. And so just trying to connect the dots on a few of those things.
Yeah.
So
I think I think we can probably wrap this up fairly quickly and just remind you to check the links out that we will include with the podcast wherever you upload that or listen or stream. But I just want to kind of push folks to rethink on a foundational level who it is that should be turned to in times of trouble and despair. Many times, I think we have been lulled to sleep thinking that we have to turn to the government, that we're going to wait for the government to move in and do what the government is supposed to do. Well, my argument would be for far too long, we've turned everything that we as individuals and families and churches, the things that we have to take responsibility for, we are the ones charged with the care of neighbor, right? Right? We are the ones that are supposed to be there to with a helping hand when people are in need, and this is it. So don't sit back and think the government's going to take care of this. We are the people that empower the government to do things, and there's certainly a function for that. But this is not that.
Right.
This is the time when the church has to rise up and be the church and minister to people. And Jason's addressed it. We've all addressed it, but it's just the fact that we've talked about processes and organizations that we have established to kind of bring some purpose to the meeting of the need, but basically it's the churches meeting the needs through these organizations. And I just want to challenge people to think about that moving forward and pray through, who it is that I'm putting my faith and trust in. Yeah. It's not in the government. It's in the Lord and in the people of the Lord.
I would also just remind us to be prayerful for all of those that have been struck by this disaster. Mm-hmm. It is vast. And so many people, and then be prayerful for those that are responding. Jason, said his dad has mentioned stories that he we can't really talk about that much. Our disaster relief workers are living those stories.
Yep.
In the midst of working in homes, they're hearing the hurts of people, and that's a heavy burden to carry at times. And so just be prayerful for those workers and for those people in those situations.
And I would even say this just as a point of prayer, as a lot of times we don't think of, we have moments like this and we want to pray and we do pray, and your thoughts are, what do I pray for? Like it's so vast,
it's overwhelming,
so big.
Yeah.
And I and do my best not to get emotional on this, but my cousin that's there in Nashville, was able to text him yesterday, and he finally got back home. And I had messaged him yesterday, and I said, man, I'm praying for you. And, but I don't know what to pray for.
Yeah.
I said, what do I pray for? How do I pray for you in this moment? And I say this because I think this is not just him, but he said, just pray for our family to find a rhythm. He said, we have returned home, still at that time had not returned power, no water, but he's also like, I'm going to be here because I want to help my neighbors.
Yeah.
And so he brings his family home. He said, his work is completely disrupted. So he's trying to figure out what that looks like for him. He said, my kids, there's no thought even of when school goes back. Soccer season, we're in the middle. I'm thinking about my kids and the excitement of our kids playing soccer and finishing out the season. He said, my kids' soccer season is canceled because the fields are washed away. He said, so my kids are trying to figure out that and understand that and just the rhythm and the norm, and his wife trying to figure out how to do work online because she's still having to work and things that are taking place. At the same time of that, she lost a coworker in the midst of these floods. And so all of that is trying to happen, that these folks are not just him, but in all of these areas, they're trying to find the rhythm of life back. It's not going to be the same for a long time. But at the same time, moms and dads trying to find rhythms for their kids, but also trying to help their neighbors and trying to cope with grief and pain and loss that has happened. And so, you know, I just encourage you to by saying this, that, you know, pray. We can pray and God knows the needs, but I would also, you know, put yourself in the shoe of, you know, what are the things of my life that would be, if this happened, that I don't even think about, or these are things that are completely uprooted and you know, not even having these normal rhythms of life that we have on a regular basis. And, you know, I would also encourage folks to say this: at some point, you may be hearing about the disaster relief and you hear those different classes and you're like, well, I can't do chainsaw. I can't do this. I can't do that. So maybe this is not going to be any way that I can help. How in the world do I help? I can also remember and go back to my time in New Orleans where we had folks that couldn't do any of those things. But my goodness, were they soul winners, evangelistic. And they went on these trips, and while everyone else is doing the work in the homes, they're doing nothing but sharing the gospel with the homeowner and loving on the homeowner and being there to speak and be present in that. And so don't count yourself out of how you can be used at some point in the future for this disaster relief.
Yeah, there's ministry in holding a hand and being a listening ear and a shoulder to cry on, and, you know, helping people go through the memories, literally picking up and putting those things together. Those are invaluable, as valuable as you know, sawing down a tree or whatever, mucking out a house that's 3 feet in mud or whatever. But anyway, lots to pray for. We just wanted to kind of jump on and raise some awareness of how you can help, how we are helping, how we are going to continue to help, provide you some information to where you can be involved monetarily and through giving resources and things like that. And that's going to be ongoing. And so we thank you for tuning in. Any last thoughts from anybody?
No.
Just continue to pray for those affected in East Tennessee, West North Carolina, now Florida, you know, Southwest Virginia, West Virginia, all through Appalachia that was affected through Helene and now with Milton and the continuing effects of Milton that we've not even yet seen. So anyway, thank you for listening. This has been Seymour from the Front Pew. As always, if you thought something was of value, please like, share, and tell other people about it. Get back to us if you have any ideas for us. We love hearing from you. And let's tell them bye, fellas.
See you. Bye. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Seymour from the Front Pew. Our sole desire for this podcast is to glorify God by educating and encouraging His body. If you would like to learn more about anything you've heard today, feel free to reach out by email at staff@seymourfbc.org or by visiting our website at seymourfbc.org. If you're located near our community and do not have a church home, come worship with us at 10:15 a.m. on Sunday morning. Until then, we pray God's richest blessings on you and yours as you love God, love others, make disciples, and live the life.